I've never hacked a phone, told anyone to hack a phone, or published any stories based on the hacking of a phone. The words of Piers Morgan couldn't be any clearer. The former editor of the Daily Mirror and the News of the World is now a high-profile TV personality in America. He's had to issue denials after a number of claims made in Parliament, in newspapers and on the internet, some of them quoting past statements from Piers Morgan himself. John Mannell is here to explain what's being said.
Yes, most people these days, Martha, know Piers Morgan as a chat show host, both in the US and in Britain. And he's a judge on America's Got Talent, having carried out a similar role here. But in his previous life, he was editor of the News of the World, and then for a long period, from 1995 through to 2004, of the Daily Mirror. Last week, his name was mentioned in relation to phone hacking allegations under the protection of parliamentary privilege by the Conservative MP Louise Mensch. That provoked a furious reaction from Mr Morgan, who said Mrs Mensch had completely misquoted him from a book he had written a number of years ago. After that, people started trawling through various things Mr Morgan has written over the years, whether in books or in newspapers. In October 2006, an article appeared in the Daily Mail under his name which talked about Paul McCartney.
Stories soon emerged that the marriage was in trouble. At one stage, I was played a tape of a message Paul had left for Heather on her mobile phone.
Only one of Piers Morgan's former journalists has spoken out. His name is James Hipwell. He was a business reporter, a so-called city slicker on the Daily Mirror, and he was convicted and served time in prison for writing about companies whose shares he owned. It was a big controversy at the time. He's explained to this programme what he claims he saw happen at the newspaper.
There might be two phones on a desk. They would use both phones to phone, say, a celebrity's mobile or a celebrity PR's mobile. One phone would be answered by the celebrity or PR in question. The other one would click into the voicemail, and the one that the celebrity or celebrity PR answered would be hung up. And obviously the other one would then give you access to the hacked person's voicemail.
Trinity Mirror, the publishers of the Daily Mirror, say our journalists work within the criminal law and the Press Complaints Commission Code of Conduct. This is what James Hipwell said about Piers Morgan.
I think there's no doubt that Piers Morgan knew that his journalists were using this method to get stories, because he was the beating heart of the paper. He was incredibly hands-on. You know, you read of some editors who stay in their office, they take morning conference, and you don't see them from one end of the day to the other. But Piers was different. He was incredibly hands-on.
Now, everything Mr Hipwell says here relates, he claims, to around 1998 to 2000. That's important because phone hacking only became illegal in 2002 after the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act came into force. As we've said, James Hipwell is just one voice and somebody who has spent time in prison. We've not been able to corroborate his claims. We've also not been able to put his comments to Piers Morgan himself, who is currently in the States. But there's no doubt what Mr Morgan thinks about him. He wrote to Louise Mensch on Twitter, "You're using a convicted criminal as your witness?" The other previous comments from Piers Morgan, which have appeared on various blogs and elsewhere, have been remarks he made to Kirsty Young on Desert Island Discs in 2009.
And what about this nice middle-class boy who would have to be dealing with, essentially people who rake through bins for a living, people who tap people's phones, people who take secret photographs, who do all that very nasty down-in-the-gutter stuff. How did you feel about that?
Well, to be honest, let's put that in perspective as well. Not a lot of that went on. A lot of it was done... No, a lot of it was done by third parties rather than the staff themselves. That's not to defend it, because obviously you were running the results of their work. I'm quite happy to be parked in the corner of tabloid beast and to have to sit here defending all these things I used to get up to. And I make no pretense about the stuff we used to do. I simply say the net of people doing it was very wide and certainly encompassed the high and the low end of the supposed newspaper market.
Well, Piers Morgan has issued a statement in response to what he said there.
There is no contradiction between my comments on Kirsty Young's Desert Island Discs show and my unequivocal statements with regard to phone hacking. Millions of people heard these comments when I first made them in 2009 on one of the BBC's longest-running radio shows. and none deduced that I was admitting to or condoning illegal reporting activity.
So, Piers Morgan being very clear that despite people attempting to link his name with this scandal, he knew nothing about this. And just to repeat his own words, I've never hacked a phone, told anyone to hack a phone, or published any stories based on the hacking of a phone.
Did you ever use phone hacking?
Absolutely not.